So, good morning or good night, depending on where you are, and welcome to another interview of the Shield Doing a Couch. I'm your host, Hector, and tonight I'm joined by Tony Croasdale, and he's the lead singer of the band R.A.M.B.O, which is about to release their long-awaited album this Friday called Defy Extinction. And we're here with Tony himself, and we're gonna talk hardcore and some other shit. So, Tony, how are you today, this Halloween evening?
I am phenomenal. I'm fantastic. How about you?
Uh, I'm great. I want to thank you for dressing up with for me. You look you look very dashing, sir.
Thank you. Chill dude on a couch. Let's
Yeah.
be.
Plus, you're on a couch, and it's a good thing because when people think hardcore, they don't think sophistication. But hardcore can have great lyrics, and this album has some great ones, and I really enjoyed it. So, Tony, how was it coming back after such a long hiatus for the band?
It was really good. The you know the band didn't break up because we disliked each other, right? We wanted to do different things with our lives, and this was at the time when bands still broke up. Maybe we were the last band to break up because it seems like bands just kind of go on hiatus, come back. The long distance recording and was kind of in its infancy at that point. So, social media wasn't really what it was now. So the whole idea that you could keep a presence out there on social media and kind of and not necessarily be as active wasn't really as apparent. So, we felt like it was time to stop the band and focus on other things. And, maybe if the band stayed together a couple more years, you would have just kind of gone on hiatus, done what we had to do. But, we're very good friends. My two best friends in the world are Bull and Andy. So I really missed collaborating with them on that level. We still stayed very, we're still very close friends. So I hung out a lot when Andy moved to Los Angeles, but I still talk to him, weekly. But I really missed. There's something about collaborating with people you love, and creating art with people you really care about that I just really missed. And so it was really great when Andy just started sending me songs, and I was like, all right, is this what I think it is? Is this R.A.M.B.O songs? He sent me songs over the years that were just songs he written, and some at one point he sent me some songs that we thought maybe could have been R.A.M.B.O again, but didn't really feel like it. Started sending me these songs. I was like, this sounds like R.A.M.B.O songs. Are we doing? We're making music again, and so it was great. And again, it's all about the people, and so it was really great to be able to collaborate with my best friends again. So that was wonderful. I missed that more than anything else.
Yeah, and probably you guys didn't feel any pressure to you were doing it because you wanted it to, and not like by a label pressure or anything like that.
Yeah, and we still have no idea if we're going to play live. I think part of us all would like to. The logistics of that are daunting. So, and we want to make sure people want us. We always want to be invited, right? R.A.M.B.O toured the world before, but we always went places that people reached out to us, release records locally. So we want to make sure if we do, if this record's well received, we'll revisit whether we'll play shows again. But we're not a lot of bands I think get back together because they want to play live. They want to have that feeling, or I'm not saying bands, nothing wrong with bands who do get together for money. Although I think in our genre that's not really a factor, really a realistic factor. Right? But
No.
This is really about. It sounds weird being in a hardcore band talking about art, but it is art, and this was about creating art. This was about creating something we cared about with friends. But we were a band before, so why we do have it would be weird to not have been R.A.M.B.O because R.A.M.B.O is about the friendship, and if these same people are making music again, why wouldn't we call it R.A.M.B.O? Because it is R.A.M.B.O. It's the three of us. Why wouldn't we call it? So it made sense to kind of do it. And again, it's just about. It really is just about. It was about really just about the music. We wanted to make music, and there is a message behind it. But we could have just went and protested. We could have written, supported different campaigns, or you've done other things, politically. But so, and express ourselves that way, but this R.A.M.B.O, it has, some social, we have some views that we, are associated with our band. So it's kind of natural that we would do that again, and get that out there. But we'll see what it's about, getting back together as friends and making music again. That's simple.
Yeah, of course. And obviously you're releasing the album with Relapse Record, which is a record label that is very respected. Like I remember them because of Mastodon, because when I bought the first Leviathan, it was in Relapse. So yeah, I associate great bands on that record label. So how was it the connection of signing with Relapse to release this album?
Well, I think a lot of it has to do with the labels we worked with before aren't really, 625 and Havoc are mostly keep their old records in press, and also in Havoc, kind of presses old bands, not really like re-releases like bands in the 80s now, rather than make new music. So it didn't make sense to go back to the labels that released us before. So we kind of had to start from scratch, and it was something that we kind of had thought about, and other people had mentioned that we should talk to them. They are based in Philadelphia area. I have a long history with Relapse, because I ran a venue and did lots of shows in Philly, as did Bull. And so we did lots of Relapse bands, and Relapse used to be based in Lancaster, then they moved to Philadelphia, but Lancaster only 70 miles away. But we did lots of Relapse bands. So I knew the original owners of the label. I mean, I think one of them still owns it, and various people who have run it over the years, and we know that the new people, and plus we have friends and bands on the label now. So it is and honestly probably the most natural label for us to work with in terms of various connections and history of a label that's active now. Plus, we were a band that did tour the world and have fans all over the world, and it does have a global reach, so it kind of made sense to on many levels, to work with them. So
yeah, it makes sense.
Phenomenal to work with, like people when people were like, man, make sure you have this in your contract, and literally our first meeting there, he was like, I know what kind of band you are. I feel like you're gonna want this stuff. And it was like we barely had a talk. It was just like, oh yeah, what we the kind of people we are, what we want. And they've been so great. And it still feels weird for we come from it's almost like a stigma to say something's professional. It shouldn't be DIY. Just be something. I mean, they're not DIY label, but R.A.M.B.O used to have a song, do it yourself or do it with friends. But I mean, unless you're putting out your own record, it's not necessarily DIY. And we're really in a position to do that. But it's friends or friends of friends, but they hire people. People work for them full time, and that's a wonderful thing, right? People need jobs. People need good jobs. People need jobs they care about, and because these people have full time jobs, and are before we'd have layouts or different things done with and it would take forever because someone's doing it a few hours here or there. But these they could turn out something in a couple of days that's a really high quality, because that's their full-time job. And it was very
having the camera.
Yeah, a very different experience, but a very very interesting to see that level of professionalism. Not that Havoc and 65 weren't, but I mean, both those guys had Felix and Max, I think, had day jobs, and people did. So sorry about I have
oh, that's okay. You're doing it yourself, but yeah, it's awesome to be on a record label that would help the band, and it makes total sense for the band. So while you're working on that, I'm going to show the artwork of the latest album that's coming out this Friday. So here we have the artwork for Defy Extinction, and I think this is it's very cool. I enjoyed it because it's kind of funny.
Yeah.
Especially it looks cool, and I'm gonna put it like here you have the guy like someone shot his eye, and is that Joe Biden at the in some part there?
Oh yeah, that's Biden. Which is funny because like a lot of the like, it seems like super right wing. We get the comments that have been out have been very obviously coming from they're like, oh, you snowflake,
Oh yeah, I
leftists,
bet.
or like, and I'm like, just you literally like negative comments about that album cover, like Joe Biden's on the album cover, like we're obviously not like flying the donkey flag, like come on, like we're independent thinkers here, but
Yeah, I think yeah, I know. I just saw him I'm like, that's Joe Biden there in the looking like confused, like well, basically looking like he always does,
well,
confused.
yeah, that thing behind that is like you know the status quo isn't good either, right? And Biden's the
Yeah,
status quo like Biden wasn't, he's a return to the status quo, which wasn't you know doing the world very good either. The nature isn't doing good
yeah.
under well, obviously it can get worse under you know Trump and his that people like that, or like thank God they just, I mean, Bolsonaro's on there too, and he just got out yesterday. He lost the election yesterday in Brazil, but like obviously like far right authoritarians are much worse for the environment, but centrist Democrats are not particularly good for the environment either. So
Yeah,
that's
I think both parties suck.
yeah,
They both have, like they both have, yeah, like uh, no, they all have flaws, like everything
yeah,
in life. So yeah, the album, it's 16 tracks. Well, 17 if you count the last one. That's the YouTube imposters, which I thought was a hilarious way to end the album. Like the guy saying, like, no, I do my research on YouTube. You give me like big graph. I'm like, oh my god. There's so many people that you could think of that think like this. So I think it's there's very catchy short songs. I think the album's like 25 minutes, right? Like
yeah,
25. Yeah,
which is long for us, but yeah, yeah,
it's long for well, yeah, it's long for hardcore
yeah.
because but no, the shortest record I heard this year is by a guy that I interviewed that has like a trap with rock, and his album is 11 minutes. And I'm like,
Yeah.
11 minutes. Like
I think our first record was 19 songs, and it was 21 songs in 19 minutes, and then the next one was 19 songs in 21 minutes. So we keep slowing it down. Now it's like 16 songs in 24 minutes. So
yeah, so this is your opus, your longest album ever.
it's our sludge rock record,
Yeah, I'm wondering because I know that for bands that write super long songs, it's super hard. But I think that writing super short songs that are memorable has to be hard as well. Like, do you go like, no, this needs to be shorter? How do you go about when you're writing the songs?
So Andy writes all the music. The band is not collaborative musically, right? Like Andy writes all the music, and then like obviously like Bull writes his own bass line or whatever. And Jared will you know and just he records the demo with the drum machine, and obviously Jared's a real drummer and he'll do his thing and much better than. But the band isn't really collaborate, like just when the rest of the band gets the songs, like I hear him. I mean, he might share them with everybody else too, but like I hear them probably first because I have to write the lyrics to them, and then Andy will help me format the lyrics to the music. But like I don't really, he'll I might pick songs that I'm like I like it, or he'll send me parts and I'll be like I like it or I don't like it. Um, and then those parts become songs, but generally like they come as finished songs to me. So that's really Andy's genius in writing the catchy, writing like memorable short songs musically. That's pretty much all Andy. So
Yeah, because it has to be super hard, and I like the first song that starts the album, River of Birds, because it starts like a little bit slower. And I was reading that there's a part there that some of the lyrics are through. I had to Google him. What's his name? I'm looking for his name right now, and I can't find it.
Right.
Bill
So
Thompson.
Bill Thompson the third. He was the editor, like the main owner and editor of Birdwatchers Digest. He was a very
Yeah, I had to Google him to see who he was.
Yeah, he died. Unfortunately, died of pancreatic cancer a couple of years ago. I kind of, I knew him. I wanted to know him even more. Like I collaborated with a little bit. I spoke at one of his conferences, and he was into music, obviously. And we just started kind of, I guess, the budding of a friendship. And then, unfortunately, he got sick and died. And he wrote this song for a bird watching competition that benefits birds in the migrating in the Mediterranean flyway through Israel, especially. And it's still weird that it ended up being the first song on the record, but that's just how things go, right? Like you don't know what song is, it's weird to kind of like have the first song on the record be lyrics that someone else wrote or heavily adapted. I changed some of them. Obviously, his song was a lot longer. But yeah, like my friend John Pushcock in Seattle, he actually like kind of did like his own like Misfits style punk version of that song, like as like it demoed it, and I was like, well, that's a good idea. Now I'm gonna actually make a record soon, so why don't I actually like record it for real? So I kind of took his idea to take Bill's song and kind of like make a punk song out of it, and I actually recorded it for real. And it just turned out to be the first song, but like I kind of wanted, Bill's lyrics to live on. And it's a shame what that happened to him. It was only his 50s when he died. He left behind, a family and children and a partner, and it's just a shame. And he's a wonderful guy. He did a lot for birds and a lot for young people getting involved in bird watching. And I just kind of want to pay him tribute, but also I really like the sentiment of the song, about birds, but also transcending borders. And a lot of the record has to do with nature, but also the border wall and migrants in terms of people were very much on our minds. And the idea of like wildlife, especially birds, transcend borders. I kind of just thought that his lyrics resonate with me, and I kind of felt like it was be appropriate to bring it to our record.
Yeah, to pay homage to your friend. Plus, the album cover has the birds as well.
Yeah,
the album cover.
Yeah, a lot of it. It's funny because the record took like 4 years from like when Andy first started sending me songs. So when a lot of people probably think that COVID gave us an opportunity to make the record. But actually the record was demoed, I think, before COVID. And we just assumed that we weren't going to be able to get in the studio because at the time, like we were, we didn't know where this was going. So we actually kind of like stalled the record when COVID started because we got to put it on the back burner because we were like, oh, well, we can't get in the studio, right? Because we can't be near people, right? We can't be indoors. So we kind of like put the brakes on it for a while. And then when we're like, oh, I guess we can, when we're like, oh, I guess we can record like, but with these measures, then we started to like think about, record, and then we had to like book time in the studios, and that took a while and whatnot. And so, but yeah, but what I'm saying is it took so long that like, we changed administrations. Not this, again, Biden isn't necessarily like our savior by any means, and like a lot of the same issues are still there. But the border and migrants was very much on our minds. And then of course, Trump got out, and literally like we have a song about Bolsonaro on there, and he literally, the record's coming out Friday. He lost the election yesterday, so and Duarte from the Philippines is on the cover. He got out, so it's funny how like it's weird to make a record. We have a song called the Sheepdog song, Who the Sheepdog's Out.
Yeah, the second song was
demoed way before January 6th happened. So like people might think it's response to January 6th, but that was I saw the militia. I mean, I'm not saying I'm a prophet or anything, but I think anybody who keeps an eye on the far right saw the militia movement and that kind of thing brewing from a while. And, so I saw that coming a while away. And so that song was written before it even, mostly it was like because of like the weird clashes in Oregon, and especially, it was kind of like on my mind before the January 6th thing happened. But it's weird how like so much stuff, like we have a song where we talk about abortion a little bit, and that was recorded a year before Roe versus Wade was overturned. I mean, it's just, we can kind of see how things were going, but it's crazy how, things are already dated, and I mean, things on our cover are dated, but what do you do? You try to make a record that's relevant, but things take time, for the time you write the songs, demo and record them, and then it takes like 8 months to a year for a record to come out these days. So like, man, it's so interesting how like things keep changing, and you're like, oh, is this song relevant? So, but
Yeah, I think those issues will always be relevant.
Yeah.
And I like there's two songs. There's Love and Science Part 1 and Love and Science Part 2. Why did you divide them in two parts and not have like one long part? Like, and what are the difference between Love and Science 1 and the Part 2?
So it's more like the sometimes when I write lyrics, they're kind of like a stream of consciousness, and it just ended up that like that's how the lyrics ended up being split, and and fitting into two different songs. It just happened, to and I kind of like that one song was like a really typical snotty like punk song, and the other one's like a little bit like slower, like gloomier, and so it's kind of cool, like that, they're a little bit different,
Yeah.
but it just, frankly, it wasn't like some kind of like really well thought out like thing. It was more just like the lyrics. I had too many lyrics for one song, and so I kind of like segregated the lyrics, and one fit this song, one way. Because when he sent me that once the slower one, I was really stumped for a long time with it. So when I found, it took a while to figure out what I was going to sing to in it. Some of the lyrics that didn't get used for the other Love and Science just seemed to go with it. And, so it's weird. I mean, it's all like angry punk music, but for some reason, songs will be like, oh, this song is like angry but hopeful. The song's angry but like depressing. The song's angry but triumphant, and I'm like, so I kind of like, the song lyrically might have a little bit, I mean, it's not like Springsteen or something that like has like much more emotion, and but for what we can do with our little, our 1.5 minute songs and the little variations we have on it, like some, there is a little bit of different emotions in songs that, and some lyrics itself to that, to feeling more than the other. And I kind of did, so this is kind of how it worked out that way. I almost kind of regret Annie suggested we call the record Love and Science. And I went back and forth whether that should be the title or not.
I think Defy Extinction is a great album title. Like Love and Science, it sounds, I think it's, I don't know why it sounds more like an emo record. It would have been named like Love and Science, but Defy Extinction sounds like more hardcore, like how did you decide? I know there's a song called Defy Extinction, the record, and I think that's one of the more harder songs on the album. How did you decide that was the album title?
I think it really summed up like what we're trying to say. I mean, it's angry but it's hopeful, like, and it's not, we talk of that song talks a lot about, this wildlife that could go extinct, but we talk about how that affects the human consciousness. I read there's a book, Monster of God by with David Quammen, and there was an interview. He was interviewing a guy in India about tigers, and he basically said, I can't imagine living life if tigers went extinct, right? And I try to write lyrics based upon like my personal experience. I've never seen a tiger. I've seen polar bears in the field, so I wrote it about the Arctic. You know, and the idea that like I can't imagine living life without polar bears. And then we needed a second verse, and at this point we had already asked Timbal Keono, who did the album cover, to do the art, and he'd done our album, he'd done our show in Indonesian Borneo, in Balikpapan and Kalimantan, and he did it. He ran besides being an amazing artist, he ran a nature center in you know, Indonesian Borneo, sun bear rescue. So I need a second verse. And I was like, well, why don't I write, in honor of him, why don't I write this verse about Bornean wildlife, you know, because that's they're in peril as well. And just the idea of like, you know, we're losing these wildlife, but I feel like a part of our soul will go as well, right? Like if we let these animals die, you know, go extinct, we'll lose part of ourselves. And also like ecology, everything's interconnected. And at some point we're going to like fuck up the earth so bad. It's going to, I mean, it already is affecting us negatively, but like at some point we're going to hit a tipping point where like we destroy the earth, we destroy the, you know, ecosystem so bad, it's going to, you know, human life won't be possible. So, you know, it's not just about, you know, preventing these animals from going extinct. It's also about preventing human extinction. You know, and again, it also like, you know, extinct, you know, losing our soul, and like, you know, there's a lot of social issues, and like we don't want, you know, our humanity to go extinct because we become so callous, you know, and to other people suffering, you know.
Yeah, it's a lot of serious issues for packed in 24 minutes. A song that I thought that stand out a lot was the question and children answer real children. And I think there's a female guest vocalist on that one. What's that one about?
So, Nicole Enriquez was in the band Witch Hunt, which is, you know, bands nowadays always tour with other bands. R.A.M.B.O rarely, you know, R.A.M.B.O rarely did back then, but one of the bands we did tour with a bit was Witch Hunt, and we're very good friends with Nicole and her twin, you know, she has a twin sister Janine too, who's also in the band, and you know, I love her voice, and also Nicole and I were in a Nausea cover band.
Oh, nice.
With also John from Baroness, who's also a guest vocal, and then Nicole's husband Patrick played bass, and Derek Moore, who's in Citizens Arrest and a few other bands, played drums. So I liked working with her. I was like, man, it'd be great to do a duet with her. Plus, you know, she's from the same background as me, loves like classic 90s peace punk and crust, you know, like and with a lot of male female vocals. And I thought that song kind of like felt like one of those songs. Also, Nicole's a mother, I'm a father, and I just felt like the hypocrisy of people with QAnon focus on like children, but yet these same people like don't care about, I mean, like you don't care about poor children, you don't care about, you know, children's education. Like I'm like, how are you so focused? How are you gonna go shoot up a pizza shop over some nonsense and like be so focused on like this fake like child cannibalism ring when like you don't care about, you know, all other children? Like it's just like, so like I thought it would be great to like have a song like calling them out, but also from where the vocals for both parents, you know, and you know, with punk often is, but you know, I don't know, a lot of people don't have kids and or almost like there's like almost
I do, so I can relate.
What?
I have, so I can relate.
Yeah, but like it's kind of like, I don't know. I feel like um it was nice to, like, two parents singing about children and being like, calling people out for not caring about kids, and also, the title's a discharge reference, of course, um just like also Defy Extinction. um Extinction is a Nausea album, and Nausea is one of my favorite bands, obviously, so
Nice. And you
so
said
like,
you're in a cover band and with John from Baroness, right?
yeah, I mean, we played 2 shows for Halloween, and
Oh, yeah.
and
I met him in a show and I took a picture with him. Super cool. Baroness, a super cool band.
oh yeah, and um he's a wonderful person, and I listen to Baroness a whole lot making this record, because I don't want to listen to I want to listen to music that was like inspiring to me, but I didn't want to listen to bands that sounded too much like us, because I didn't want to like borrow ideas from, like,
Yeah, that
you know
makes sense.
my friends, or like, other I didn't want to like so I was sort of like get inspired by good songwriting, and I really listened to a lot of Baroness, because I'm a huge Cure fan, and I feel like Baroness, like, kind of like is like a metal Cure, like they
I
like
can
kind of
see that, especially with the latest albums where they have like the mellower songs. Yeah, I could see that. Yeah, they're a great band and great live. So great albums.
yeah, and he's just awesome dude. Um, he's just so inspiring. I mean, the dude is so unbelievably talented in so many different ways too. It's just amazing. And it's crazy too, because like his part, like, he was so busy and it came together the last minute, and like, I mean, it's just like he was able to like nail it like that. Also, I don't know. I'm sure Nicole, who's a great musician too, was able to do it. But like Dan Neiman, who did his vocals, like I was actually there, in the studio, um, when he did his vocals, and like, I mean, he just went in, and I don't know, he was there for 20 minutes. He just laid it down like it was nothing. Like, it was unbelievable to see someone like, just be able to do that. Um, it's amazing. What's that one? Was it a Beyonce song or something where like Jay-Z does guest vocals, and he says like 50 grand says I get this in one take. I'm like, that was like Dan, like, this is like got it in one take. Unbelievable.
Yeah, that's awesome that someone could get it in one take. So, Tony, it's been great talking to you about hardcore and the album. So, people, this album is coming out Friday. Uh, I'm gonna show the artwork again for Defy Extinction, and it's coming out on LP, CDs, digital, with Relapse Records, and I just love this album cover. I just find it is find it funny as hell, especially when he's being one of them is being attacked by butterflies, which I think is hilarious. So,
That was one
there,
of my favorite comments. Like, someone was like, people were like so mad about this album cover, and someone was like, why are you so mad about someone being attacked by butterflies? And like, but those oh my god, I can't remember. So those are like, it's a fritillary butterfly, and it's specific to the South Texas. Like, everything in that album cover is like a deep cut. Like, I'm a super bird watcher. It's what I do for a living. I run an environmental center, and like,
yeah, that's super interesting.
yeah, the cover is like all the wildlife. It's a deep cut. I mean, Bolsonaro is being attacked by a Brazilian merganser. I mean, it's one of the rarest in the world. There's like 2, but it's like, again, it's a bird that's like endemic to, like, I think originally they used to live also a little bit in Paraguay and Argentina, but like they live in Brazil, and because of like hydroelectric dams and agriculture, they lost almost all their habitat. Like, so I actually saw that species. I went on a mini expedition to see it in a Sarah de Canastra and in Minister Lice, the state, actually the state that Sepultura from originally, from Belo Horizonte, but that state in Brazil, I went and saw that species. But so many deep cuts. If you're in nature, a bird watcher, is like, like literally the bird ripping the eye out of the militia guy. It's a hookbill kite. It's a bird that lives in the neotropics, but it gets into Texas a little bit on the border. But the reason why it's in the bill, not his talon, is that species eats snails. And it actually, most hawks take things in their talons, but this thing actually uses his bill, not his talents. So that's how like accurate
Nice.
in a weird way our album cover is. It's like everything. It's like so many Easter eggs,
There's
deep
a lot of
cuts for like.
detail in it. Yeah, and you can tell that you know what you're talking about with the bird watching. So I've learned stuff today about bird watching. See, I'm like, we're gonna talk hardcore, but no, we're talking about birds. So yeah, what's more hardcore than a bird picking the eye out of those like assholes on the cover? So yeah, it's a great album cover, and even though the album has serious topics, I think there's some humor in it and some tongue in cheek also as well, which makes it uh, like uh, like very to flow well. So yeah, Defy Extinction coming out this Friday, November 4. So people go and you can buy it, stream it, and if you're looking for some like straight hardcore with some intelligent lyrics, there you have it, the new R.A.M.B.O album. So Tony, I want to thank you for taking time and
It's been a real
joining me on the couch today.
pleasure. Have a good one.
It's been entertaining. So people, until next time, this is Hector, the Shield on a Couch, and we'll see you right here on the couch. Thank you
Cheers.
and
Thank
good
you.
night.